Hi, welcome back to the Alex and Dom Show. I'm Alex.
I'm Trey. Haha.
That's all right. And I'm Dom.
And we're going to continue our series on Jeffrey Dahmer, Part 2. Now, listener discretion is advised. We are going to be talking about some heinous shit in this episode. And that deals with a lot of SA, murder, everything. Like, it's a true crime episode. So, listener discretion is advised. So where we left off in Part 1 is Jeffrey's childhood and his first two murders, which were 9 years apart from each other.
So he took a break.
He
took a big break, yeah.
9 years is
So
a
that was
long break.
after his first victim?
Yeah, his first victim was in 1978, and his second victim was in 1987.
Why was it such a long gap, do you think?
He was fighting them.
Yeah, he was fighting them. He was drinking heavily. He was in the army. He was finding every distraction he could to get away from it. And
I guess that's a good thing, but he still he obviously failed.
yeah,
That's because he lost control while trying to maintain control, so he decided why keep control at all.
Oh, I see.
yeah, why control his impulses? And his first two victims were both named Stephen. Which is another interesting fact.
I never paid attention.
Stephen Hicks and Stephen Tulamy. So that's a big coincidence, I guess,
Do you
if
think
you
he
think
picked
about
him
it.
out because his name was Steven after his first victim, or is it just a coincidence?
It was just a coincidence. It was anyone he lured back.
Or he has a thing for Stevens.
Well, we'll find out because we're going to go through the rest of his 15 victims in this episode.
Wait, are these like that the police have found, or are these what he said he's done?
It's what he said he's done. It's what they found and everything and stuff. But like I said, he was like by the end of it, he was ready to be caught. Like he was ready for it to end. He was ready for it to just to tell somebody what he did.
Is that a common theme with serial killers? A lot of
Somewhat,
them.
yeah, but a lot of them lie, and a lot of them always hold back one victim. It's the one
Ted
that's
Bundy
most
was
special.
a big liar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ted
Oh, yeah.
Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Lee Lucas. We did.
Yeah, we did that.
The confession killer. He confessed over 3,000 crimes, and maybe only killed two that we know of. Like I'm sure he probably killed more, but like two is ones we can prove. All right. So in October 1987, 1 month after Stephen, so his waiting period is going down drastically. Dahmer lured 14-year-old James Duxtator to his basement of his grandmother's house, promising him $50 in exchange for posing for nude photos.
I wouldn't pose nude for $50. Just saying.
Well, it's 1987.
Still, that's $50. That's not.
Well,
worth
it's also like kind of like
Yeah, I know, I
like
gotcha.
these
I gotcha.
people are like usually gay. Like he doesn't lure straight men
Yeah.
in. So after drugging him, Dahmer strangled Duxtator, disposing his body in a similar fashion to Tulamy. He kept the Polaroids, which is part of his first, trophies, as you would say. And that would be a common theme for a while, especially that's why he's living with his grandma, because he can't keep the bodies like he would later in his career. In March 1988, Dahmer meets his next victim, Richard Guerrero. He met his victim outside a Milwaukee gay bar. Dahmer offered Guerrero $50 and return to his grandmother's house and spend the night with him.
They do like to do the same kind of trap.
It's a honey trap.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but Gacy used to drive around in a cop car. That was his.
No, it wasn't Gacy.
It wasn't Gacy. Are you sure?
No. Gacy used to...
He didn't. You're sure he didn't drive around in a cop car?
No.
Or what looked like a cop car?
No. He didn't.
Who am I thinking of then?
You're talking about the Candyman.
What?
Talking about the Candyman. It's another killer in Texas.
Oh, my bad.
So after drugging Guerrero with sleeping pills, Dahmer strangled him before performing sexual acts on his corpse, masturbating and raping him. But this time, Dahmer dismembered the body within 24 hours. Hiding his killings and dismemberments was becoming increasingly difficult in his grandmother's house. It's like I said, there's not places he can hide them. Obviously, as John Wayne Gacy figured out, there's only so much room you can dispose of bodies.
Yeah.
So after March, he waited about a couple more months. September 1988, Dahmer got arrested for sexual assault. Dahmer's grandmother had become annoyed with him bringing men to her house late at night. And with the foul smells emanating from the basement, she eventually told him that he had to move out.
But she did, like, investigate any further or try to figure out what the smell was or anything like that?
No, it's pretty much like she probably thought it was like weed or something, drugs.
Yeah.
Like, no one really is like
She wouldn't have
dead
suspected
body.
immediately that it was going to be,
Within days of securing a one-bedroom apartment, Dahmer was arrested and charged with second-degree sexual assault and enticing a child for immoral purposes after luring 13-year-old Kyson Synth-a-Simone it's a weird name.
It's just gross.
Back to his apartment, where he drugged and molested the boy before he was an intended victim, but he escaped.
Yep, I remember that.
Taking his story to the police, Dahmer spent a week in jail before he was released on bail. Now, this is a different person who escaped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. March 1989. Aspiring model
They let him out to go
Anthony
kill some more.
Anthony Sears, which is going to be a common
Oh, yeah.
24, became Dahmer's fifth victim. After they met at a bar, Dahmer, fearing his apartment was being watched by the police, he brought Sears to his grandmother's basement to be drugged and strangled. Sears was the first victim from whom Dahmer took trophies, storing and preserving Sears' head and genitals, which he kept in a wooden box. For a time, he stored the box in his work locker. And he was a chocolate mixer. We found that out in the last episode.
A what?
A chocolate mixer. He worked at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory, and he was a mixer.
Oh, okay.
And apparently made a lot of money.
Yeah, $19 an hour.
At that time?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and the people who worked with him said he was a really good mixer.
Of course.
Like that. I mean, he was buff as shit. He was like, rah.
Yeah, he was into bodybuilding.
Yeah, I guess the better to overpower his victims. Freaking creep.
So, other than Polaroids, this is the first time he kept stuff from the bodies, which, again, will escalate as we go along.
Yeah.
May 1989, Dahmer sentenced to 12 months in jail with a work release.
Ridiculous.
He was sentenced to 12 months in jail and 5 years of probation for second-degree sexual assault. Dahmer was permitted work release in order to keep his job as a mixer at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, they really wanted him in there.
Yeah, he was a good mixer. While also being required to register as a sex offender. Paroled from jail 2 months early, Dahmer rented an apartment at 924 North 25th Street in Milwaukee, which would be the infamous apartment. May 1990, shortly after his release, Dahmer kills again.
Yep.
It's a compulsion. He has to, like in his mind.
It
he
just
has to
bothers
do it.
me how often this happens with the police letting these guys go. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a cop, so I don't have really room to talk. But it's to me, it's ridiculous.
It's
that they
because
are
he's
allowed,
gay.
The fact that they're allowed to go kill again and again and again. It shouldn't happen. They should be caught at least the first or second time.
Well,
that
no
should be
one
it.
is reporting these people missing.
Right, because that's a common theme too.
Yeah, because a lot of times, because we were talking about last episode with the gay panic and the AIDS epidemic, people, like, they disowned you. Like,
Yeah.
parents were disowning people.
a
They were
very
running
hard
away.
time for
And Milwaukee
LGBTQ.
was a transient town. It had gays coming in, and other people, of course, but mostly gay population coming in, going to the gay bars, and then leaving. So the cops didn't really think anything of it when someone was reported missing because
They left.
Yeah, they were like, oh, they left. Like, it's not like nowadays where we have social media that's tracking everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone has a smartphone in their pocket.
Plus
It's a
DNA
completely different
and-
time. Yeah. So, and DNA didn't come around until the O.J. Simpson trial when we used it into law enforcement. So, I mean, like, obviously DNA's existed since someone was born, but like I said, we didn't use it for crime until the O.J. Simpson trial. May 1990, just months after being released from jail, Dahmer killed Raymond Smith, a 32-year-old prostitute. He offered $50 for sex. But
$50?
Yeah. Well, that's when he cashed his check. That's mostly what they gave him was $50. After drugging
How many hours
Smith
did he work?
at his,
You get $50 on a paycheck? He worked
No.
$19 an hour?
They paid him in 50s. Like when he cashed
Oh,
his
in
check,
50,
it's 50s.
$50 bills. Okay.
And it's not like he actually
Yeah,
gave them
yeah.
the 50.
Right. Well, yeah, no, that's dumb. Yeah, no.
It's funny that he doesn't change the amount at all.
It's
Yeah.
just $50 should be tempting
$50.
enough.
$50 to $50.
If they would have said no to 50, he probably would have offered more.
Yeah, that's true.
After drugging Smith in his North 25th Street apartment, Dahmer strangled him with his hands before taking Polaroid pictures of his corpse in suggestive poses.
Before rigor mortis set in.
Dismembering the body in his bathroom, Dahmer boiled the remains, dissolving them in a container of acid except for Smith's skull, which he kept in a cabinet alongside Sears' skull. When neighbors complained of the smell emanating from his apartment, Dahmer told them his refrigerator was broken and he was waiting for it to get fixed.
Yeah, because he said he had like deer or
He had got a hunch of meat from his dad and it spoiled.
Yeah,
which
that was the
is a
excuse.
convenient experience. It's like, because if someone told me that, I
believe
wouldn't
it.
suspect.
Yeah, I
a
wouldn't
body in
think
there.
anything twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, that shit stinks, bro. So
But the spell obviously would not have gotten better. So eventually,
no. And I don't know if you've ever like smelt like pig, like cooking, right? The searing of a pig.
Yeah, searing, but never boiling.
No, yeah, but even if you boil something, like for whatever reason, like the human body stinks ungodly when it's cooked.
I wouldn't know.
Like, well, I mean, we've heard stories.
Well,
of,
I've
like,
heard it
the
described.
Donner
Yeah.
Party.
Yeah,
and,
but I don't
and
know. I don't have firsthand experience with it. So
Uruguayan, the Andes Mountain disaster and stuff. We've done episodes on those, so we've heard it described. But like, obviously, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a human being cooked or a pig being cooked.
I wouldn't either, but that's because like I said, I've never smelled a human being cooked. Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have, and we just didn't know.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, maybe you have smelled it.
When?
Just at any point.
Did you
like,
know it is
like cooking
legal?
outside.
Like I'd be just walking by some random person
Yeah,
cooking another
and-
person, and I
yeah,
just
you-
accidentally smelled it.
Yeah.
And you would never know the difference because you've never smelled human
I
before.
guess.
But
That's kinda creepy.
It's actually legal to cook human.
Ew.
Like people who donate their bodies to science and stuff, you can actually get human flesh to eat.
Uh-oh.
That's gross.
Yeah.
You would be dead. You wouldn't know the difference.
I don't care.
Well, I wouldn't eat the person. Like,
Well, no.
I just wouldn't eat
I
it.
have issues with
A lot of things.
Yeah, with any kind. Yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but
But you'd be dead, so you wouldn't know the difference.
my ghost would.
You could specify
I'd float around and be like,
specifically,
"Eh, eh."
I donate my body to science, but I do not want my flesh eaten.
Yeah, I have to specify that in my will.
Mm-hmm.
Do not eat me.
June 1990. Dahmer kills again and attempts to preserve the body.
Attempts.
After killing 27-year-old Edward Smith, Dahmer attempted to retain the body by keeping it in the freezer for several months. The frozen corpse was eventually discarded, with Dahmer telling authorities he was upset he did not get to keep any of Smith's body parts due to the, them basically being useless after being in the freezer that long. After you're unfrozen like that, and especially if you're not unfrozen like slowly,
The fact that that's what his concern
degrades.
is just
Yeah.
wild.
Well, he has abandonment issues really bad. His mom sucked and favored the youngest kid, and his dad just dead set on him to be married and have his own new life.
I'm not going to mention the podcast, but I listened to another podcast about Jeffrey Dahmer because it just popped up. But they're like, besides him having loving parents, and I was like,
They weren't loving.
they were not loving. They were pretty bad.
I mean, his dad.
He
from
witnessed
the
an
sounds of it,
overdose.
his dad tried
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a
but he
little
also
bit.
messed him up.
Well-
I don't know if it was because I watched that Netflix. I don't know how much of it's true or not, but didn't his dad like have him help him like dissect roadkill or
Yes.
cut up
Yeah.
roadkill.
He
or
sure
about that last
did.
episode,
He
yeah.
would bring
That is
He would
nuts.
bring his son
I mean,
roadkill.
I guess it's not that much different than if you go out hunting with your parents and they show you how to dress and cut up.
Yeah,
a
but
deer.
that's for a particular reason. That's to eat.
Yes.
That the roadkill and playing with the entrails. That is
Okay, that's
is
what
nasty.
I was saying. But
Well, he also thought his son was going to be a scientist of some sort.
Yeah.
So
He was really hoping. September 1990. Like I said, the cooling off periods are getting less and less.
yeah, he's ramping
for
it
him.
up. And they still haven't caught him.
nope.
Or I mean, they have caught him.
Yeah.
But they keep letting him go.
Yeah. Dahmer claims 2 more victims.
In 1 month?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But he deviates from his previous methods. Ernest Miller, 22, had his throat slashed after being promised money to join Dahmer at his apartment.
So no strangulation.
The lack of sleeping pills forced Dahmer to change his method of killing. Dahmer kept parts of Miller's body to eat, something he was doing increasingly. He painted and displayed Miller's head in his apartment after he took the flesh off and bleached and
But
stuff.
can you imagine going into his apartment? Firstly, the smell.
Which he also learned how to do from his dad.
See,
Seriously.
So
that's problematic.
he asked at dinner one time. He's like, "How do you make the bones white?" And his dad jumping up saying, "Oh, I got it. It's scientific, and I got to show you." And he showed him exactly how to dress and clean bones.
I mean, he probably wasn't imagining his son was going to go on and
I
do
don't
that
know.
to human beings.
I don't know. Like I feel like you would know if your
at
son's
least
not
at least
right.
you have like a
I
like
would
a
know,
like a
100%,
like a
like-
feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. But like,
There's certain questions that your kid asks that you would be like, "What
There's some red flags there.
Yeah.
As a parent, you should be able to pick
I don't
up.
know.
I'm sorry, but I don't agree
the kids
with
have asked us some pretty weird questions. I was like, I mean, granted, they hang around us with the podcast and everything, and it's not like we well, I research like I should, but Ernest 3 weeks later, Dahmer killed 22-year-old David Thomas. Later, he said he came to realize during this encounter that he was not attracted to Thomas, but he still drugged and killed him, then disposed of his body, intentionally not keeping any parts of it. So I don't understand what the point of killing him was.
You needed to kill somebody.
Yeah, the compulsion, maybe.
Well, it's different with Jeffrey Dahmer because it's not just about the kill. The kill is like how he gets the product. He's a product killer. He wants control. He wants sex zombies at this point. He wants to...
He, like drilling into the head and putting the... what does he put in
Putting
there?
acid in the brain and
to
stuff.
try
And
make them compliant.
yeah, exactly. And he doesn't... Like, he's a product killer. So the act of killing does not give him the sexual release. It is the fact after that. He's just killing to get the body. He doesn't want... Like, the killing... Like,
The kill
with
itself
Ted
isn't
Bundy,
what does it for
yeah,
him.
Ted Bundy was the kill itself. The killing gave him sexual release. The killing for Dahmer doesn't give him sexual release. The person being dead afterwards is what gives him sexual release. So, February 1991, a 10th victim is murdered. Dahmer picked up 17-year-old Curtis Straughter at a bus stop, offering him money in exchange for nude photos.
$50. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Dahmer continued his rituals with his 10th victim, offers the cash to a stranger, drugging him, strangling him, and then he takes pictures of them after and various degrees of dismemberment. He would dismember, like take the head off, then take a picture of the body. Keeping, I think they found hundreds of Polaroids of different victims and different parts of dismemberment. He would dismember the bodies, keep the bodies parts for cannibalism and trophies. He was a big proponent of keeping the genitals. He liked to cut the penis off, petrify it, and keep the penises. So he said that Dahmer said that eating his victims was a compulsion. It was a way of making them feel a part of him. They could never leave him if he ingested them.
I cannot get...
That is a big thing, though, with cannibalism, especially with tribes that
Yeah, I
are with
heard about
cannibalism.
that.
It's you consume their
Spiritual
power.
thing.
Yeah, you consume their power, which is odd to us because obviously we see it as a moral wrong don't eat people. But in those tribes, they don't murder people. They don't murder outsiders. It's
usually
a ritual.
A willing.
Yeah, it's a willing sacrifice. Yeah. Which is, some of the tribes that we know about. I'm sure that there's other tribes that do cannibalism that don't.
Podcast or something about it.
Yeah. So you consume the power, and I think that's more like what he is feeling when he eats them. He's feeling like they'll never leave me if I consume their essence. Which is
psycho, obviously.
April 1991. Dahmer attempts to put a victim in a zombie-like state.
Right.
After drugging 19-year-old Errol Lindsay, Dahmer drilled a hole in his skull, which then he poured hydrochloric acid in an attempt to produce what Dahmer would describe as a zombie-like state in his victim.
Was he alive when he did this?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Lindsay regained consciousness before Dahmer drugged him further, then strangled him, flayed the corpse with the intention of retaining Lindsay's skin.
Good Lord.
I told you, this is a brutal episode. It's a lot of nasty stuff.
Yeah, I usually skip out on these ones.
Now let's talk about the victim who almost got away. This
one makes me sad.
This is a big contention, especially with people who follow true crime and who are just huge proponents of police doing their jobs. I know, like we said last episode, we are a podcast that shit on the police, it seems like, all the time.
Right.
But obviously we're covering true crime episodes
in situations where they're like...
Yeah.
In those... We're not talking about the broad spectrum
of police, obviously. And I was telling...
In these situations,
Trey, there was great detectives out there that solved...
Saved lives,
unsolvable crimes. And but these two cops, I don't think anybody in the world can say that these two cops did a good job.
Right.
Well, they probably do.
Anyways, May 1991. Dahmer's next victim, 31-year-old Anthony Hughes, was
older than
dead,
the other ones,
but still intact on the floor when he lured 14-year-old Kunanrak Synthsamaphone. You've heard that last name before.
Mm-hmm.
To his North 25th Street apartment. After photographing and drugging Synthsamaphone, Dahmer again tried to render his victim brain dead by drilling into his skull and inserting acid, leaving the drugged body alongside Hughes' corpse while he left the apartment for a few hours. He ran out of beer, so he went to go get some beer. Returning in the early hours of the following morning, Dahmer discovered a groggy Synthsamaphone sitting outside the apartment building with 3 women huddled around him. Telling the women Synthsamaphone was a friend, Dahmer attempted to lead the boy back into his apartment, to the dismay of the women, who informed Dahmer that they had already called the police. Dahmer eventually convinced attending police that Synthsamaphone was a 19-year-old boyfriend, and they had quarreled after drinking too much.
And of course, the cops are not going to want to have anything to do with that. So.
As soon as he said boyfriend, that was it. They were like, ugh. Amid the protests of the women, the officers escorted Dahmer and Synthsamaphone back to the apartment, where Dahmer produced the Polaroids he had taken earlier as proof of their relationship, which is, again, why he took pictures of them. Categorizing the event as a domestic dispute, the 3 officers, so those 3, left Synthsamaphone with Dahmer in the apartment, which they noted had a strange odor.
I cannot believe they just freaking left that. That is ridiculous.
After the police got back into the car, they sent over the dispatch, all clear, basically. They were saying all clear, and then they jokingly said they have to run by the station to get a delousing bath.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, these cops, like I said, as soon as they figured out, they could have literally took 3 seconds to
go investigate,
to look at this guy, to even look at the guy.
Yeah, because he had a hole in his skull.
He had a hole in his skull. He was bleeding profusely from it.
And
he was incoherent. Obviously, that would mean drugged or something. But they saw he was a person of color. He was gay.
That was it. They didn't
in
care.
the 80s early 90s, that was it. It was his death sentence. Dahmer once again drilled into Sensasone's head and injected it with acid, this time with fatal results.
Poor guy.
By coincidence, Sensasone was the younger brother of the boy Dahmer had molested in 1988.
Oh, my gosh.
A crime which he was convicted of. Though, according to Dahmer, he had no idea of their connection.
He probably really didn't.
No,
It
he
was
probably
a coincidence,
didn't.
but what a coincidence.
He probably didn't even know his name.
My God.
After dismembering their bodies, both of the Hughes and Sensasophone, Dahmer kept the skulls of both Hughes and Sensasophone.
That's... Ugh. I can't... That makes me so mad.
Yeah. And
So freaking mad.
and he went on to kill like 4 more people after that.
Yep.
It could have been definitely I mean, he still would have killed a lot of people. He killed a lot of people, but at that point you could have saved 4 lives. In 1991, Dahmer met 20-year-old Matthew Turner in Chicago and persuaded him to travel to Milwaukee for a photo shoot.
For $50.
Once again, Dahmer drugged, strangled, and dismembered his victim, keeping the head and internal organs in a plastic bag in the freezer. Now, this is where he really ramps up. This is what we would call in the serial killer community as his berserk mode, or berserker mode. Ted Bundy had it. It's pretty much when the serial killer realizes he's getting to the end, he ramps up and starts killing rapidly. So July,
Like kind of like what Ted Bundy did in Florida with the.
God, yes, with the sorority
college,
house, yes. Oh my God, it was
that
horrific.
was his berserker.
Yeah,
mode.
that was his berserker mode. That was after he escaped from prison twice.
Right. Colorado and
Seattle
Seattle.
or Washington State. July 7th to the 19th, 2 weeks. And he killed 3 victims.
2
1991.
weeks. Jeez.
Choosing another victim from Chicago, Dahmer promised Jeremiah Weinberger, 20, a weekend away at his apartment in Milwaukee. Dahmer did not commit the murder until the day following their arrival, when Weinberger voiced his intention to leave. Days later, after agreeing to pose nude, 24-year-old Oliver Lacey accompanied Dahmer back to his apartment, where Lacey was drugged and then administered chloroform over the course of a day in an attempt to render him alive but unconscious. After strangling Lacey, Dahmer had sex with the corpse, storing the head and heart in the refrigerator and the skeleton in the freezer. 4 days after murdering Lacey, Dahmer was fired from his job.
No.
The same day, Dahmer lured Joseph Brandhoff, 25, to his apartment, strangling him and laying the body on the bed, where it remained for 2 days. Then he placed Brandhoff's head in the refrigerator.
He's getting more reckless too.
Yeah. Also, Dahmer developed a stink to him. He was taking showers with bodies in the bathtub.
Oh my God.
He would shower above them.
Ew.
Yeah, because that's where he would dismember them. And if he didn't get to dismember him, like that's pretty much why he was always late. He was becoming late, being drunk on the job, and just poor hygiene. Just
He stank.
yeah, he stank a lot. So obviously this is like he's losing all touch with reality. I mean, before he had no touch with reality, but this is like big time. Now let's talk about his final victim, or their almost victim, Tracy Edwards, 32. He lured Edwards back to his apartment he pretty much, according to Edwards, it was like, hey, I'm having a party and invited a whole bunch of guys, right? Which is not something Dahmer does. Dahmer is more of a get you alone, separate you from the herd. Definitely not anything like that. So I'm going to read you, according to Edwards, what happened, and then Dahmer pretty much says something different. So we'll kind of try to meet in the middle of what really happened. 2 Milwaukee officers were flagged down by an agitated man with handcuffs attached to one of his wrists, Tracy Edwards. He told the officers that a freak had placed handcuffs on him and he had spent the better part of the evening trying to escape from a nearby apartment where he was being held captive. So Dahmer had met Edwards earlier that day and persuaded him to accompany him to his apartment. Upon entering, Edwards immediately noticed a foul smell. Stacked boxes of hydrochloric acid. Dahmer had tried to place handcuffs on Edwards, succeeding only in fastening one wrist before he brandished a knife. Pulling Edwards toward the bedroom, where Dahmer still had intended to take nude photos of him. Edwards continually repeating that he was Dahmer's friend. I'm your friend, Dahmer. I'm your friend. Or friend, Jeff. I'm your friend. Edwards waited until his captor had a lapse of concentration, whereupon he punched Dahmer in the face. In the confusion, Edwards fled through the front door, eventually flagging down the police car.
Who may or may not help.
Yeah. He didn't want to return. He was just like, take me home. I want to go home. He didn't want to go back. So if the but if the officers didn't take him back and just took him home, Jeffrey would have killed again.
Yeah.
So upon arriving at his apartment, Dahmer invited the attending officers inside, admitting that he was the one who actually placed the handcuffs on Edwards and the keys were in the nightstand. On entering the bedroom, one of the officers noticed a partially open drawer filled with Polaroid pictures of numerous bodies in differing states of dismemberment.
Which I imagine he probably threw on it to throw up as soon as he seen them.
Brandishing the images, the officer returned to the living room, saying to his partner, "These are for real." Seeing the images, Dahmer...
Traumatizing. I can't imagine how that being that cop.
Oh, God. Seeing the images, Dahmer tried to escape, but was quickly subdued by the officer, who had repeatedly called for assistance. When authorities opened Dahmer's refrigerator door, they found a severed head of a black male on the bottom shelf.
Yeah, see, I can't even imagine the stuff that they have to see.
Considering it probably feels like it came out of left field there.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't looking for him.
Just on patrol, just chilling.
Yeah.
Maybe
Minding
having
their own business.
Maybe having a lunch break or something.
A
donut. And here comes a dude in handcuffs. Oh, well, maybe it's just a regular old...
Crazy.
Domestic dispute. Goes in the apartment, severed heads, Polaroid pictures, and...
If Dahmer lived outside of the city, in like the house where he killed his first victim, like when he was all alone out there,
he might have never got caught.
I don't think he ever. He would have been caught eventually, but he would have been. It would have been a long time before he was caught. Just the seclusion and stuff. The fact that he was in that small apartment.
It was just too hard to hide everything.
The smell alone. A neighbor repeatedly called about the smell.
Work.
He got fired from work. His time was coming to an end. There was no way he was going to be able to get another job. He was too far gone.
Yeah.
When Dahmer was arrested, they put the handcuffs on him. He uttered to the police officer, according to the police officer, "Just kill me now."
Coward.
Authorities would discover 4 other severed heads in Dahmer's kitchen, 2 human hearts in the refrigerator, 7 skulls in Dahmer's bedroom, as well as an entire human torso in his freezer. Further investigation of the apartment would reveal preserved sexual organs, 2 entire skeletons, severed hands, and a further 3 torsos submerged in acid in the infamous Blue Barrel.
Those cops are going to need a lot of therapy.
Most of them probably didn't even take it.
No
therapy.
Not back then.
No therapy
they were
for them.
manly. They were too manly for that. I'm shitting on the police. After following his arrest, he was glad it was over. Obviously, he was reaching the end. He knew it.
Yeah. Okay, but explain. So,
well, he wasn't glad.
How does that work? So you're saying, like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a way to explain this properly. He has a compulsion, right? He knows he's going to get caught, and he's ready for it to end, but that compulsion is, I don't think, going to go away when he's in jail. It's still going to be there. So what is, like, his...
It's
you think that they would be they wouldn't do anything they could to not get caught because they need to continue that compulsion, like Ted Bundy. Yeah. So like, but Dahmer wasn't like that.
No, Dahmer. Well, it's hard to say because a lot of this stuff's coming from.
I mean, obviously
Dahmer.
he didn't have a choice; he got caught. But I'm saying, like, you were talking about how like he knew towards the end that he was going to get caught.
Well, it was just because of the reality break, the reality, the losing the job. So he knew that's why he tried to kill as many victims as possible near the end.
Yeah, but so like kind of to store stuff up because he knew he was going to... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the with the arrest and everything and pretty much this entire time period. So he goes 9 years from his first two victims, right? And then within 3 years, he kills 15 people. 3 to 4 years, 15 people.
Is this not counting the first two?
So the first two was in 1978, and then the second one was in 1987. That's 9 years apart. Mm-hmm. And then after that,
as I was just asking,
87 to 91, he killed 15 people.
So he killed 17.
17 altogether, yes. That we know of, that he confessed to. Like I said, I think that serial killers, they keep one for themselves. They keep them a special one. Like Bundy killed a 12-year-old girl, but he never confessed to that one. That was the one crime he never confessed to.
Well, how do we know?
They pretty much, I think they found evidence that he pretty much killed her. Is this the fact that he didn't confess to it? For one, no matter if you're a serial killer or not, killing a child is really bad in prison. Like, you're not going to last long in prison.
It's bad in general.
Oh yeah, well, obviously, I'm just saying. But like in the criminal hierarchy, child murderers and molesters are like they're lower than
scum.
Dirt.
They're scum.
They're
straight
killed.
Up. I don't care.
Instantly in prison, almost.
Scum.
That's why they're never put in Gen Pop.
Which is
unless
throw them in there. Throw them in Gen Pop. Let them fuck. I'm not going to get into it.
But the fact that he was caught and he was saying that they asked him if he was ever released or if, would he do it again? He obviously said yes, he would do it again. He couldn't help it. And
do any of the serial killers say no, they wouldn't do it again?
I'm sure they do.
To try to get out, maybe?
Well, it does.
Well, they would never get out. But I'm saying, would they ever say
no? More often than not, most
a lot of them
serial
go to
killers say yes. They would kill again.
They would kill again, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just, I guess, the way that their brain's wired. But a lot of them, don't they also turn towards, like, God towards the end? Like, they think that, I'm forgiven.
Well, that's how God works.
I know, but I'm saying that, to me, it's just so aggravating that they can do all of this shit, and then right at the end, right before they die, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm born again,
Well, Dahmer was one of those.
I know, it's disgusting to me.
Yeah, well, God, as long as he repent fully, God takes him back.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about religion.
We're not going to go to religion. But
yeah. So with Dahmer killing his victims, he confessed to a detective after he was arrested. He came in there and he started confessing about all these people he killed. The detective didn't believe him. He was like, this is outlandish. There's no way you killed this many people in an apartment and stuff. And then the people called him. Like, they're like, hey, we found a lot of shit here. To the point where, like, he had to get Dahmer to start over so he could record it and start writing it down.
Because he didn't believe that
he didn't believe it. He just didn't believe that a man. He said unassuming Jeff could do this.
No, I don't put anything past anybody nowadays.
He was a quiet, unassuming person. He made friends. He made friends. He made friends in the apartment. One lady that we'll talk about next episode who became best friends with him.
Right.
Was completely shocked. And the people who say I knew all along that he was a murderer and a serial killer and stuff, it is bullshit. Because if you knew all along, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you go forward?
That right there.
I knew something was wrong with him.
I knew something was off from the very beginning. Why didn't you do something about it?
Absolutely. That's horrendous to say that and just be like, I mean, if anybody who I work with or I've been neighbors with is like, oh, you're a serial killer, even me, like, who researches the shit out of serial killers and true crime and stuff, I would never guess. Like, you just don't know.
Well, we also don't really talk to any of our neighbors.
No, and
So if they were serial killers, we really wouldn't know.
which
I'm
is
watching you guys.
This is funny. This is funny, right? A little tidbit of Jeffrey Dahmer. He provided sandwiches to his neighbors one time.
He sure did.
Please tell me that they weren't what I think they were.
What else did he have?
Yeah, what else did he have? What else was he eating?
Oh, no.
They were accidentally complicit in getting rid of evidence.
Yeah. He stated that they were not made of human flesh.
I wouldn't believe him.
But yeah, but like they could have been. But yeah, so but after eating sandwiches from him,
I'd never eat
and then
another sandwich
learning
again.
about what he did and the cannibalism he did and stuff,
I would never eat a
"Oh
sandwich
my
again.
God."
Never. Not a million years.
I don't know. That sandwich was good though. I don't know if it was good.
No, I would never.
The people said it was a good sandwich, so. But he claimed it was roast beef. It wasn't human. But
It doesn't matter if we stored next to human.
I know. There was like a bacterial thing, and people who eat humans get like vitamin deficiencies. They get
Serves them
sick.
right.
They start like
Stupid.
They also sweat.
Well,
like they have a certain
dummies.
scent when they
I
sweat.
agree with cannibalism when it comes to survival, and the person's
Oh,
already
you're-
dead from
you're
other
talking
injuries.
about, like
the Andes
like the
disaster
Andes.
and
The Donner Party.
When there is
Donner Party,
no other way to survive and that person is already dead,
Yeah.
maybe. And even then, I'm kind of drawing the. I would say no, but
There's some people that did. There's
I
some
would-
people in the Donner Party that
Yeah,
didn't.
I
eat.
think I
There's
would just
some
die.
Andes and stuff.
I would just die of hunger. I couldn't do it. I just,
Yeah, but you've never been to that point of
true.
starvation.
That's true. I can't say
Yeah,
without being in a
100%
situation.
without being in a situation. But I'm just saying, like, you've never known that starvation. Like Jeffrey Dahmer didn't starve.
Yeah.
he did it out of compulsion. He wanted to keep them with him. It was part of his ritual near the end, and like I said, he did change his MO up a little bit, but like that's up to, we don't really know if he slit the throat. Like I said, all of this evidence comes later, like comes from Jeffrey's mouth. It's not. Oh, they found the person's throat slit. They took crime scene pictures and stuff. People were dissolved in ashes. The people that he said he slit the throats or did change his MO were all that was left was skeletal remains or torsos and acid. There's not really a way you can tell if a person's been killed a certain way at that point of degradation and like dismemberment and decay. Like you can't tell. Like obviously the skull being drilled into, you're going to be able to tell.
So they
that.
would have to take his word for how he did the killings.
Which I mean, with his confessions and the amount of dead bodies they found in the thing, because like the cop didn't think he killed anybody. He just thought he was a grave robber.
I guess
The detective, because you don't want to jump to that. Like you can't.
your mind can't wrap yourself around
this.
the fact that somebody would be so monstrous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I could believe it.
Well, now, yeah.
Well,
but
now,
we,
yeah,
we,
but
we
we
look
know
at
It's
a lot
not
of
just-
true,
it's-
we look at a lot of true crime. So we
it's not just a now kind of situation. It's like, I mean, if you even in the 80s, if you watch the news, it was bad.
Definitely.
yeah.
But I mean, like,
Oh, dude, the 70s and 80s was almost as
We
bad as
are-
the Wild West. It was like murder all
yeah.
the time.
But I'm just talking about like in today's day and age, we're really desensitized to a lot of stuff. Like, so a lot of things aren't as shocking as they would be,
Yeah.
before the internet age.
Yeah, and especially like early 2000s when
So
you
now,
watch
when
live
somebody
leak.
says somebody murdered and dismembered 17 people, it'd be like, oh,
I'm like, oh,
yeah,
damn,
I believe
that
it.
sucks.
Yeah, it's still terrible and tragic, but it's not as
It's not like
unbelievable as
it wasn't back then. It grew. It's international news back then. The trial was one of the most expensive in Wisconsin's history. It was televised, so like a lot of people heard details, and it was like it wasn't the first time we've heard details like this, because back like the Black Dahlia murder, there was like they were releasing details like crazy in the newspaper. It was graphic, and they released pictures of the body
Yeah.
and stuff. So like you would never get that in today's newspapers. Maybe like through a website or
It's a lot of
whatever.
censorship.
Yeah.
It would be like blurred.
But you would think,
like they'd be like,
you would think
here's
back
the body.
then it would be
We're
more
gonna show you
censored
the
than
body.
it would be now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, but back then they were like throwing freaking crime scene photos around like they were candy. Like it was Halloween, trick or treat, trick or treat. Have a lady cut in half. Like it was like what the hell. But like I said, it was like the crime scene itself was televised. Them bringing out the blue container, them bringing out just boxes and body bags of people. Like it was horrific.
Well, also the way the media handles serial killers is why serial killers got so big.
True.
Yeah. But that was before
They were
too.
sensationalized.
It was true crime.
They were. They had
True
little
crime
nicknames.
Was big back then. The Villisca axe murder that we talked about.
Yeah.
People took stuff from the crime scene.
They get fascinated.
Yeah, hangman, they would dip their handkerchief in the people that got beheaded. Hangman, they would take like toes and
People are freaking weird, dude.
mushrooms underneath a hangman's noose.
Ew.
Because when you're hanged, you vacate your bowels. You shit yourself.
Yeah.
As soon as you're hung, it's one of the execution methods that
Yeah.
everything drops out. People would take the mushrooms that grew underneath the hangman's block and eat them.
That is disgusting.
Yep. Apparently, you trip balls off of them. But yeah, it's, like I said, true crime has been big since the beginning of crime. Like the
People
outlaw,
are fascinated with the macabre,
the macabre,
freak shows. All
outlaw. It's
yeah.
like Bonnie and Clyde, Robin Hood. I mean, Robin Hood's I don't think it's real, but like the idea, the nowadays Luigi.
It's
the
kind of
outlaw.
It's
is like
because
folk
it's so
heroes.
fascinating because you can't get your head in that space as a normal person. You can't.
Some people can.
What do you mean?
Some people can, like the people who are fans of, like the serial killers and the murderers.
Okay, so my question is those types of people, right? The ones that can understand or sympathize with serial killers doing that stuff, would those people be able to go out and do those types of things, do you think?
I think anyone's capable of doing those. I think
Capable,
anyone,
yeah, I know. I'm
anybody's
not talking
capable.
about. I'm talking about like the
That's
the
why
mental,
there's
whatever,
copycats.
Yeah, but whatever goes on in people's heads, with serial killers have the psychology behind it, which I still think we don't have.
We don't know exactly
don't
why.
know.
We don't
Yeah.
have a full understanding.
So, in those situations where you got the people that are just, I'm not talking about like us who are interested in the details and the true crime aspect of it. I'm talking about the people that are like what's the word I'm looking for? Obsessed with serial killers or obsessed with a certain
you're talking about the ones who send letters and
yeah
are in love with them
and
all
they're
that
like
stuff.
in love with them and stuff like
Well,
that.
a lot of those people don't believe that they're guilty.
You don't think so?
A lot of
Some-
them, yeah.
some don't.
Some don't, and it's like, oh, well,
I think there's
he
some that
wouldn't
100%
kill
believe
me.
that they're
Yeah.
guilty and still.
Yeah, and it's pretty much like they have an obsession, and it's mostly women. I'm sorry, it is, but especially with Dahmer. Dahmer even had women. He was gay, and there was
I
women
don't understand
that
the
loved him.
attraction to that. Though.
It was-
Why?
They want to fix him. They think they're
Oh,
like,
okay.
I can fix him. He wouldn't kill
No,
me.
No, I don't
that's
think so.
that's not even true. They're just like, I can take him as he is, kind
Yeah,
of.
pretty much.
Like
It's
I would
weird.
stand by him.
But there are men that do it. Jeffrey Dahmer had men who wanted to be with him and stuff. That I would never, especially when it came out
I
that
just don't get
he
it.
didn't want them to leave him and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, I'd never leave you." And he got letters and stuff. It's just something like there's a lot of people out there who don't have, I don't know, common sense, like survival instincts,
Morals.
yeah,
Morals, yeah.
and it's like, oh well, it wasn't that bad, and also it was a big deal because like we were saying, it's coming right off of the gay panic, the AIDS epidemic. It was all that the Jeffrey Dahmer shit all happened coinciding with that. So it was like. It was huge. It was well, I wouldn't say over sensationalized, but because that was a big deal. He killed 17 people. But it was like they made it a bigger thing than what it would have been if it was just like a straight serial killer.
I don't think they should get any publicity at all. I think they put it in the newspaper that they caught a serial killer. But obviously, you need to acknowledge the victims. You have to be able to give the victims the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, but you can't talk about the victims without talking about the killer.
But there are ways to handle it that I think would be better than the way that they handle it, because they sensationalize it. That's what it is. They take it and they make it into
media does.
Yes,
It does.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's not talking about us.
No.
He's talking about like the nicknames that the serial killers used to get.
The Milwaukee monster, the Milwaukee cannibal.
Anything
what was Richard Ramirez?
that makes them into like
Night
rock
Stalker.
stars, or
exactly.
or celebrities.
Yeah.
I
They
think
shouldn't-
that is not, because that's how people.
That's why they don't do nicknames anymore.
They shouldn't.
We haven't had a serial killer caught in a long time, though. Like, not one that's been, like,
Yeah, I
killing
know.
recently.
But they also can catch them before they get to 3 or 4 or 17.
They no, there's one that, who was it? They just found all those bodies in New York City. Or not New York City.
You're talking about the guy that got caught, was it the Long Beach?
He didn't get caught. No one's been caught for that.
I thought they
No, they found all those bodies.
No, they found that guy. He was a builder or a architect. You remember?
He wasn't arrested, though.
I have to look at it.
You can look it up, right? But like they gave him a nickname. Like I said, they're never going to stop giving nicknames to serial killers because they sell papers.
Yeah, they called him the Long Beach Killer or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry, the Long Island serial killer.
Long Island.
And
serial
yes,
killer.
it was he's alleged. It's Rex Heuermann.
Yeah, they haven't. They didn't
charged with
him.
7th killing, and he was charged with the killing of Valerie Mack.
Yeah, did they convict him?
He's charged. So yeah, if he was charged, he was
No,
convicted.
that's.
Oh,
not what it means.
I apologize. You're right. Sorry.
So he was. It's the alleged killer.
Yes. So far, it's alleged. Let me see. You guys can keep talking.
His name is Rex.
Yeah. But the with Brian Miller, Brian Patrick Miller, we talked about him in an episode, and we focused the first episode of that. We focused solely on the victims.
Yeah.
Because they are the most important part of a true crime story. Without the victims, there is no true crime. And granted, they deserve more of a send off or more love and care than a lot of people give them. Because you always remember the serial killer, you never remember the victims, which is horrible.
Yeah, that's because of the media. The media pushes the serial killer more than the
serial
victims.
killer. It's easier to. I hate to say this, and it sounds bad, but it's easier to remember one person's name than like 17. Does that make me a bad person?
Makes you have memory issues.
Yeah, I mean, but like I can barely remember the kids' names. But no, with the with the serial killer, that and like I said, you focus more on him. Like, and it's also because. How can a person do this? Like, we have to. It's more like understanding why. Why can someone do this, or how can someone be driven, or what drove them to this? What could we change in the future?
It's a drive to understand.
Yeah,
We're
some people
curious
you can't.
as human beings. We are always trying to search for answers.
Yeah,
and that's one of them. Is how can they do it?
Some serial killers, like just looking at their background, you can understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can.
Jeffrey Dahmer didn't have that bad of a background comparatively to other serial killers.
Yes, but you also have to remember certain people handle things differently
yes, absolutely.
than others.
And I agree with you.
They tried to push a surgery that he had at 6
And
is why he was like obsessed with death. But I really think it has something to do with him seeing his mama OD.
There are a lot of killers that have no bad backgrounds. They have perfectly healthy backgrounds. I have to look it up, but
it depends. Ted Bundy had a loving relationship with his grandmother or grandfather and mother, but I think he said he found out later that his grandfather was actually his dad, so it was like incest.
But he found that out.
But he found that out like way later, and there's not definitively proven.
But he had a relatively normal childhood, a happy childhood.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of serial killers that have okay childhoods.
Not necessarily great, but not terrible either.
And again, like you said, it's the way people handle things.
Exactly.
There's people out there who've had horrendous childhoods
and
they
handled it
grew up
perfectly
normal.
fine. Yeah,
like they grew. I mean, they're not normal. That's the thing.
They're
Like,
just because they
they're
don't turn into
traumatized,
serial
but they're not
killers.
That's what I meant. They're not serial. They don't kill people.
Or they do. They're just not serial killers. Like they're mass murderers or family annihilators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it like I said, it's more like the serial killer aspect. Why we give them so much attention and everything is like the morbid curiosity. What made this person snap? what in their, and that's why we look at their childhood. Why was his childhood so much different than, say, Joe Dirt's? You know, like, I'm sorry, it's what made it different. What turned him into this killer? And that's why we're so fascinated with serial killers. Is because what, and a guy had an interesting theory about that. It's lead paint.
Mm-hmm. I heard about that theory too.
Lead paint?
Yeah, lead poisoning makes you violent.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was like a myth or unproven or something.
It's not proven, no. It's a theory. That's why it's a theory.
It's also boomers. Why they have that stare where it looks like nothing's going on.
Paint stare?
The lead paint stare.
Yeah, like I said, and that could be it. That's
Wouldn't that be crazy that this entire time all of these serial killers, all of these murderers are just the way that they are because of lead paint?
Well, I mean, obviously we have serial killers now, but the majority of the serial killers
before.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but we had lead paint.
But
we
had we had like a,
and it wasn't just paint either. We had lead in lots of different things.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Pencils too.
Lead pencils.
Yeah, that's why when they said lead pencil, it's
and all the really kids who ate those pencils
or licked them,
Yeah.
Oh
gosh!
So it's lead ink.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
I don't know.
Ink.
I don't think there's. I'll wait until there's.
I think there is a correlation. I'm not betting the farm or the horse on it or whatever that saying is.
I think that it's not.
I don't think that's solely it.
Exactly.
I think it
a contributing factor.
There's a perfect storm.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
it's a mix of nature, nurture, and
lead paint.
Lead paint.
Lead poisoning.
Certain things that happen to certain people, like you said, it affects people differently.
Yeah, and if you already have lead poisoning or something, and
he said he had a fascination with death at a young age, and like I said, I believe it's because of his mother ODing. But
right,
that right there, and then add lead paint.
Yeah,
could be.
That's it, really. And his dad didn't help.
Mm-mm.
His dad made it worse. Even whether he knew or didn't know or whatever.
I don't want to put the blame solely on the dad and the mom. Like I said, they didn't. Okay, so the mom.
The parents have
there.
A lot of blame.
Yes, but the mom wasn't there
which
for
is
him,
which is a
big deal.
It's a factor.
But again, there's people who have one parent that turn out fine.
It doesn't matter. You can't compare people's lives.
I know, but I'm saying David didn't turn out to be a serial killer. His brother
also didn't have a fascination with death that his dad helped with.
They're also
because his dad wasn't there.
Two different psychological makeups.
And well, that we know. David Dahmer fell off. I think he changed his name.
I would too.
And he fell off the radar. Like no one knows where he is. So
I wouldn't want to be found
he could
either.
Be out there serial killer. No, I was kidding. I'm not going to say that. We don't know, but so in the next part, we're going to talk about the trial, and I kind of want to do like snippets of the trial, like see if we can play some or something like that. I'll have to look into it for like copyright issues and stuff.
I don't know.
Or interviews of Dahmer, but we will talk about the trial, the aftermath of the trial, and Dahmer's death.
And his friendships.
Absolutely. And where his parents are now, and what they did on the aftermath and everything. I won't. If they're still alive, I will not divulge their location. I'm just saying, like, I will say what happened afterwards.
I say his mom 100% says she's like blameless.
Yeah,
no
allegedly.
way. There's no way she thinks she has no blame at all.
I'm gonna have to look up the interview again. But I'm pretty because they interviewed her once.
Ridiculous.
And I want to find out. I want to watch the interview again, and I want to point or get that down.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
I might be remembering it incorrectly, but like I'm pretty sure she allegedly said that she was like she didn't do anything wrong. So I'm going to say allegedly for right now until I listen to the interview again.
Which sounds narcissistic, allegedly.
Yeah. With the capture of Dahmer and the end of his reign of killing and just dismemberment and cannibalism. Like I said, I also think that's why Jeffrey stands out so much other than like more than all
because
the
of
other
the
serial
fact that
killers.
he was a cannibal.
Yeah, the cannibals. Like
It's something about it takes it to a whole new level. It's when you kill somebody, that's bad enough. But then you start doing things with their dead body, like Ed Gein.
Yeah,
that's where it starts getting just absolutely crazy.
And eating them, and it's like the final taboo.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the I don't know. There's a lot of taboos out there that are worse than cannibalism. I'm just saying, there are. But with that, I mean, his crimes were horrific, and like I said, he just kind of like got shot into the stratosphere of true crime. Mainly because of the cannibalism, because there's people that killed more. I mean, John Wayne Gacy killed 33.
I think it's also besides the cannibalism.
Bundy
it's the
killed
fact that
a
he
lot
went
more,
under the
too.
radar as long as he
Yes.
did.
Yeah,
He didn't get caught when he
with
was supposed
Gacy,
to.
he was suspected. Like they were like
They were on his
suspecting.
butt.
Yeah, they're on
They
him.
were trailing
They're gonna
him.
catch
They
him and
were
stuff.
yeah.
And then Bundy, he was caught like 3 times. So I mean, but Dahmer, yeah, he was arrested for
Different things,
assault,
yeah.
sexual assault, but they're just like, oh, he's gonna be killing people like that.
Yeah.
They didn't suspect him, and Ed Kemper, they didn't suspect him either. That was another one.
Ed
They
Kemper
didn't
was very
suspect it.
intelligent,
They
though.
he had to call. So was Dahmer. Dahmer was
Yeah, that's what I'm
intelligent. He had
saying.
high IQ.
So it's weird. The IQ is
The
another,
high IQ is what keeps them from getting caught.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also helps them get caught.
right.
Yeah, it's
because they are egos.
They feel like they're
high
too
IQ.
smart.
Yeah, the high IQ comes with a high ego.
Yeah. You saying I have a high or a big ego?
I don't know. Do you have a high IQ?
I don't know if it's that high. It's 131.
Allegedly.
Do you think you have a high IQ?
Due to an online test.
It's above average.
Then you're high ego.
I guess.
Well,
I
if you-
am the best
If
at
you would have
everything.
been like, well, I think it's like, it's okay. But now you're like, it's above average.
It's
better than the average.
It's because it's above average. I'm bright, is what it said.
I'm bright.
His ego is shining.
His ego. He's got a shining ego.
I am the most egotistical person, so
Out of what, the three of us? Because there's people
I
way
guarantee
more.
you're more
Yeah.
egotistical
Elon
than
Musk
me.
is
I
more
have-
egotistical.
I got zero confidence, so it's not
Yeah.
me.
But so with Dahmer again, part 3 will be out next week, and we'll talk about his trial and aftermath and everything, and who killed him, and how he was killed, and the rumors surrounding how he was killed, because they're not. If you've heard that he's been killed a certain way, it's a rumor. He hasn't. Like I said, I'll let you know exactly how he was killed and everything. So,
And then talk about the rumors.
yeah, and then talk about the rumors and where they came from and everything, and the way his friends took his death and parents. So, thank you guys for.
Gleefully and gratefully.
No, don't forget he's charming.
I don't
so-
give a shit. If you're a killer, you've lost everything for me.
Well-
If either one of you, I'm sorry, if either one of you guys go off and start serial killing, you're dead to me.
If we get caught.
No.
Yeah,
If
I
I know
wouldn't
it-
tell you.
Okay,
I was
let me
gonna say,
ask you
if
something.
I'm saying if I knew,
Did you like the show Dexter?
did I like it?
Yes.
I thought it was.
Did you sympathize or did you like Dexter?
Sympathizing. You can empathize.
You can empathize. You can empathize
That's
with a serial
different,
killer.
though. That's
I
it's
empathize
a
with
little
a
bit
lot of them.
different in the fact that he killed killers.
What?
It's
But he's
still
still
murder.
killing.
He's still a murderer.
serial
I know.
killer.
I know. It sounds
And he
weird
didn't
coming.
always kill. He killed. He killed
to avoid getting caught.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to avoid
no, I
getting
know.
caught. So obviously he's not such a good guy. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no.
But
He
I
never
wasn't
said
saying he was a good
he
guy.
was never said he was a
serial
good guy.
killing
I think it's a little bit
anyone, either whether they're serial killers or not, like with the child molesters. There was a serial killer who killed child molesters. It's still murder.
Yes.
Like you can't kill somebody. Like obviously, whether you agree with it
Well-
or not.
So you're saying there's a certain level of sympathy that can or cannot be gotten depending on the circumstances.
I think you can sympathize with their early life before they started killing people. Like, if a serial killer had a really bad childhood,
You would
can
feel sorry
sympathize.
for the fact
like,
that they
I'm sorry you
went
went
through what they
that,
did, but hey.
you shouldn't have killed people. Like, you can deplore their murderous acts, and you'd be like, because Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't feel after his first murder, that's it. That's when I stopped feeling sorry for him.
But you can also empathize and understand what led them to doing what they do.
Yeah, like their
but
stressors.
still be like, no.
But there's no friendship after that. I'm saying No.
But you wouldn't know.
I would.
You've
I'm
never
telling you
been-
right now,
yeah,
if
but
you guys...
you've never been friends with a serial killer.
Right.
Or that you know of.
I'm
That you
telling
know
you, if you guys were serial killers, we would no longer be friends. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, but that's after the fact.
Right.
But we're family.
But that's only if I didn't know.
Dominic.
I'm saying
Yeah.
if I knew, that would
But-
be it.
Okay. You built this long
Sorry, we're getting...
friendship with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
An intense friendship with somebody.
Yes.
Okay. And then you find out that this person is in jail.
Right.
Okay.
for allegedly killing a whole bunch of people.
Right.
What if?
Okay,
What
no,
if it's not
no, there's a
proven
difference.
without a shadow of doubt? If
Then I would wait until they're proven guilty.
But what if it's never
innocent
proven?
until proven guilty?
Yeah.
Then
like
then-
go like
like
the
they
courts
brought
can
it.
It
decide.
depends on the evidence because I have my own opinions.
Yeah.
If I look at the evidence and even if they're not guilty, if I look at the evidence, right, and I think there's enough that just because you didn't get through the justice system, they got you dead to rights, but some kind of like.
Okay. What about the Menendez brothers?
What about them?
I mean, we'll do an episode on them later this season, but let's just do a quick scenario. They were one of them was allegedly being molested,
Right.
Or both of them.
or both of them. And so they killed their parents.
Right.
Like, they did it.
If
Like, they emptied,
and I'm
one
saying
emptied a
if.
shotgun, and then
Right.
reloaded, and then emptied it again.
if I'm saying if it is true and they were molested and their parents and their dad molested them and their mom let it happen,
But there's no way to prove it.
Yeah, but there's nowhere. It's no way to prove that they were being molested.
then it's hard.
Yeah, like I said, it's their story, and then they've had people corroborate the stories. And there's been letters. They found letters. They're bringing new evidence now,
Yeah.
which is like
Because it's still
Then
ongoing.
it's on the fence. You have
Yeah.
it's innocent until proven guilty.
But yes, if let's just say 100% proven they were molested, they still murdered someone. It's
Yes,
still
and they should
murder.
still pay for their crimes.
But would you still be friends with them?
Yes, in that situation, yes, because they did it. They were molested. They killed
Allegedly.
their monsters. They're defending themselves in a way. So in that
And
situation,
that's also completely different than what he said in the first place, which is that he could not be friends with us if we were serial killers.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
what if
different
I'm
situation.
being molested
You're
by
using
several
you're using
people?
wrong examples.
Yeah, but what
Yeah,
if I'm being
like-
molested by several people? Say that
You're
I
using
was-
molestation as an example.
No, I mean, well, that's a lot of reasons
Well, yeah,
I know.
for what
yeah.
makes them serial killers.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like a long friendship with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't, violent.
always a serial killer.
They
Right.
were weird. They weren't weird or anything with you.
Right. We were friends. Yeah.
You
I get
had
it.
no idea.
Yes, I get it.
It would still be hard.
It would hurt, but it
yeah,
would,
but it would still be
that's-
hard to
I
wrap
think
around.
it would be hard
that.
for you to just cut that off.
It would be hard, yes, but I would do it. It would be yeah. Don't tell me no. I'm telling you right now.
I don't think so.
I'm
wouldn't
sorry.
visit them in jail?
I love you guys.
What if your kid was a serial killer? Could you disown them?
That is really difficult.
Yeah.
I don't
I
have a
couldn't.
kid, so I can't. I
I
couldn't
couldn't either. I could. I mean, I would deplore what they did, but I would still. They would still be my child.
Right.
They'd still be
Yeah,
my
I would
child.
I don't know. I don't have a kid, so I can't.
You
I
can
can't
still
weigh
love
in.
them.
Yeah, but you have like
I have godchildren.
you have godchildren and
And
nephews.
Yeah,
and
well, like,
nieces
what if-
and stuff?
What if your nephew murdered people?
Yeah,
You couldn't disown. Well,
You could.
you would
You
still
could,
love them.
yes.
That's my
I-
whole point. You would still.
You
love
would. I
them.
would love them for what they were and what they meant to me for the memories and stuff like that. But no, it would be a complete.
I would be
disown.
visiting my kid
It would
every
be-
single week in prison.
It would be a complete disownal, sorry. What I'm not.
It sounded like you tried to say dishonor and disowned at the same time.
Disown.
Disown.
ownable offense.
Yeah.
Like a disownable offense.
The-
But
I-
the thing is we're not saying that you wouldn't be friends with the person. We're saying is you
I'm
can't
talking about
cut off the love you have for that person just because they did something so horrific that you can't wrap your head around.
Well, that's for me. That's just for me with kids.
You're talking about, like, in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer and his friends, right? I'm talking about being friends and still wanting to connect and be friends with them after they've committed those crimes. You cannot. I can't. Well, you could do that because I sure as hell couldn't do that.
I mean, Eileen
You could not be
Wuornos
friends
had
with them
friends.
after. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
After you have found out, it's come out, they've been proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way in hell that I would still have any kind of friendship or friendly feeling or anything towards you guys at all.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to dissuade you of that.
No,
I'm just saying
that's
like
just
that's your opinion
Yeah.
and your what's it
Viewpoint
called?
on it.
Point of no return. Like that's it. Like
you can't.
If you've murdered anyone, you're a serial killer,
Or
and you're friends with
molested
Dom.
or did anything.
That's it.
I'm not
you're
sure
friends with
if
Dom
I
anymore.
could
It's just a good
100%
stance.
cut them off.
I give you that. It's a good stance to have.
How can you, well, I'm not going to disagree with you because everybody has their own
Well,
opinions,
in
but-
Jeffrey Dahmer's case, I would be safe.
Yeah, he only killed men.
Yeah, well, I know. But
And gay men at that.
Gay
but
men.
I'm saying, like, if you were
Well, no, Hicks wasn't gay.
That's true.
if you were friends with Jeffrey Dahmer prior to him getting caught and all of this stuff coming out, you were like best friends with him.
Besties.
He goes to court. He gets convicted. All of this evidence and the stuff that they're bringing out, the barrel, all of these victims' corpses, everything like that. You look at this person and you're like, oh my God.
I would be horrified.
You'd be.
I really would.
But you're telling me that you would still want to be friends with that person after that.
He does seem like a nice guy, though.
I am-
looking at his pictures of him. And
That's
stuff,
that's
like,
all great and all, but
he seems like he would
I
be
don't
a
care.
pretty good guy.
You can be seem like a great guy all you want. After you have done those things, there is no way in hell that we would have any kind of anything. I would be disgusted. I would be just completely
I would be all those things too. But the problem with me,
hurt
though,
and betrayed, and I would feel like
I have
It's
You
like
wouldn't-
it's
empathy
wasted
problems.
I wouldn't be able to.
But it'd be a waste of
yeah,
time
I wouldn't-
and energy though. Like I put 18 years or whatever of this friendship in with this person. Like
And I
and
also
then
would feel
all of
guilty.
it could be wiped out.
The
Yeah,
guilt
like you
would
could
be
have
the
could have
guilt-
stopped it.
Yeah, like how could I not have seen this?
Yeah, but serial killers are so good at hiding
Right, but
themselves,
you
especially
still-
high IQ serial
but
killers.
you still would feel that
like
that
Richard
guilt,
Chase.
even if it doesn't make sense.
If he had any close friends, they would have found out really fast. That dude walked around with bloody clothes all the time. Like, I don't know how he escaped as long as he did. He was the vampire. He was the Richard Chase, the vampire. But, well, he wasn't actually a vampire. He just drank blood. But,
well, considering there's no such thing as vampires.
But Ed Kemper, like he said, he called the police and confessed, and they didn't believe him. He had to call like 3 times
Yeah.
for them to even come and listen to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's one of those times where you just don't want to believe it.
No,
And
no, I'm
you
saying I'm not saying
and-
that I would believe
yeah.
and stuff like that. I'm just saying that at that point, that's it.
And we're also talking about like, when we were talking about last episode when we were oh my god, I lost train of thought. Talking about like how the Ryan Murphy shows Monsters, like that, and how the also that other show with about Jeffrey, no, it was a movie about with Zac Efron about Ted Bundy and how they made it seem like he was innocent.
Yeah, the way that they sympathize towards the killers.
Yeah, like, oh, he didn't do it. They're out to get him. This pureblood American man and good-looking man. There's no way
They glazed the crap out of him.
Yeah, like he could do it. Like they're all against him, and there was no evidence against him that definitively proved and everything. And I was just like, oh, give me a fucking break. Like, I mean, yeah, I like those movies and shows and stuff, but it's like, no, dude, don't sit there and tell me that he was wrongly convicted or try to, like, gaslight me into believing that,
Gaslighting. Yeah.
gaslighting me. Like, no, dude, he killed people just because you put a pretty face on him like Zac Efron. Don't give me that shit. But, all right. So we'll see you in that part 3 for Jeffrey Dahmer. We appreciate you. Thank you, Don, for joining us on this episode.
Yeah,
I know you don't like true crime as much as
It's just
me and Trey do.
It's just that I'm kind of queasy when it comes to certain things.
absolutely.
And it bothers me.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah,
for
of course.
It. Part 3 will be out next week, and we'll go through the trial and everything. So thank you guys, and don't forget there's still time to put in your haunted places suggestion on. You can email us at thealexanddomshow at gmail.com, and on my Facebook, Alexander Dartarian. So you definitely, or comment below the video, or and also give us a 5-star review. It really helps us get out there and be heard.
Yep.
And we appreciate you guys.
Always.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.